Live from HBFO Channel 6, Bloke in a Pub, Matthew Mills. Higgs Boson family, you stay classy. Hello and welcome to the tragically missed opportunity that is Bloke in a Pub. And once again, as we're in the build-up to the presidential elections, which I'm going to refer to in this little broadcast, I'm once again joined by Donald Trump and Joe Biden, both presidential hopefuls, of course. And suitably, we're drinking Hadron's Collision to celebrate the interaction between the two of them. I've had a question from a viewer about how is it that investment markets are doing so well when the economy doesn't seem to be doing anything. And as I was walking into work today through a scene that looks a little bit like 28 Days Later, which you'll be able to watch during the next lockdown. Now this actually represents something called an attribution or an attribution bias. Now an attribution is how we explain things to ourselves. So for example, if you were, I'm going to wash my hands afterwards, if you were President incumbent Donald Trump and you started to recover from COVID-19 with a miracle drug, called Regeneron that you might just happen to have shares in, then you would be saying, oh, it was great, it's an amazing drug, and it was my idea. Because Donald Trump, when things work, they tend to be his idea, and when things don't work, they tend to be someone else's fault. And that's called an attribution bias, and that's called a self-serving attribution bias. Another bias is called a substitution bias, which is where you explain one thing with your understanding of another thing. So you assume that if the economy isn't doing very well, then stocks and shares shouldn't be doing very well in the market either. Now the explanation actually is that actually the two things are quite different. So if you look at the stock market, particularly in the States, it's dominated by tech companies. Tech companies like Zoom, which have done amazingly well as a result of lockdown, which again we will be enjoying soon, it seems. And it represents about 40% of the US stock market is tech stock. Now, on the other hand, the payroll for those companies only represents 2% of the economy. So the money that's been pushed around with the people who work with them is fairly small, whereas they dominate the market. If you reverse that and you look at sectors of the market that have been really badly affected, like hospitality, that represents about 20% of payroll, so money that's coming out to the economy that people are spending. However, it only represents a few percent of the stock market as a whole, so its impact in the stock market is pretty small. So there's a dislocation between the two, which is entirely explainable if you accept that the two are different and behave in different ways because of that. So hopefully that's an explanation for that. It's a little bit of insight into the president incumbent and his explanations for things. And on that note, we'll see you next time.